ghost of Mad Anthony. During the Revolutionary Wars, General Anthony Wayne was an American statesman and officer. George Washington thought he was one of the best military planners and strategic commanders of the American Revolution. Wayne was born in 1745 on his family's acre estate, named Waynesboro, in Chester County, Pennsylvania. He was educated at a private academy in Philadelphia, and at the age of 20, he began work as a surveyor for Benjamin Franklin. In 1775, when the American Revolution began, Wayne assembled a militia and became colonel of the 4th Regiment in Pennsylvania. He was successful during the invasion of Canada, where he went to the aid of Benedict Arnold. For this, Wayne was promoted to Brigadier General and earned the name Mad Anthony, because he became known for his fiery temperament. In one incident, he severely punished a drunken spy who screamed that Wayne was mad, as he was being whipped on the colonel's orders. In 1777, Wayne also saved Washington's troops from a proper pasting at the Battle of Brandywine, and led his men on to other decisive victories, like the Battle of Stony Point, along the River Hudson. Once the war was over, Wayne settled down in Georgia on land awarded to him because of his outstanding military service. His life was touched by scandal when his wife left him over an affair and he became bankrupt. He became a Georgia state representative before returning to the army, where once again he was a success, this time in the Northwest Indian War. He died at 51 in 1796 in Erie, Pennsylvania. Wayne was buried 2 days later in a plain wooden coffin. In accordance with his wishes, he was interred in full army uniform at the base of the flagstaff on the blockhouse. Brass tacks were used on the top of the coffin to spell out his initials, age, and year of death. Mad Anthony Wayne lay there peacefully for 12 years, until his family decided that Wayne was a war hero who needed a more fitting burial, and made arrangements to take his bones home to rest in St. David's Church Cemetery, closer to his former home in Radnor Township. On opening the coffin, Wayne's son, Colonel Isaac Wayne, was shocked to find that his father's body was beautifully preserved and remarkably intact, except for one of his legs, which had rotted away. It was not the pile of crumbling bones that Isaac was expecting, and now out of the box, the corpse would rot and stink, which was going to make moving the body across the state difficult. James Wallace, a local doctor, came up with the idea of dissecting Wayne's body and boiling it into a large vat to strip the bones of any flesh. The flesh and the clothing were reburied at the foot of the flagstaff in Erie, and the bones were loaded onto the back of a wagon for the 400-mile journey along Route 322. In early 19th century America, the roads were hardly well made, and by the time Isaac reached home, he found, to his horror, that many of his father's bones were missing, having fallen from the cart as it bumped over one of the many tree stumps, ruts, and rocks on the grueling journey. Isaac instantly regretted his decision to exhume his father's body and remained remorseful for the rest of his life. Stories of General Mad Anthony Wayne's ghost soon began to surface. He was seen on the anniversary of his birthday, every New Year's morning, taking the long journey back to Erie in search of his lost bones. He has been spotted riding his horse Nancy, dressed in his colonel uniform, frequently stopping to search. He has also been seen at his family home in Waynesboro, which is also haunted by the ghost of his great-grandson's wife, who died there in 1889 during a fire on the top floor. But only women have been able to hear the ghostly screams, breaking of glass and crying. It seems that Mad Anthony's ghost just cannot rest in peace. A bit of extra information: in the DC comic universe, Batman's alias Bruce Wayne is a direct descendant of Mad Anthony Wayne. The Yuka Man. This video went viral in August of 2016, and it was claimed that the footage was shot in a desert-like wasteland somewhere in Portugal. And the voices that are heard in the clip are definitely speaking in Portuguese. It has subsequently been claimed that the video was recorded in the Navajo Nation sometime in 2007. The short piece of footage shows some sort of bizarre creature slowly plodding along through the barren landscape. The unknown beast looks to be very tall and is walking upright on 2 feet with a stooped posture. It has very long arms but looks humanoid in appearance, ambling along until it disappears behind a bush. Take a look.
Caralho, velho. Puta, onde que tá agora, pô? Olha lá, olha lá.
Many explanations as to what the mysterious creature could be have been suggested, including Bigfoot, Yeti, Chupacabra, alien, or some sort of fantastic hybrid of one or more cryptids. Tales of large, hairy, ape-like creatures exist throughout the world. Stories about the Yeti have been around for centuries, and the creature in the video does look similar to the description given of the Yeti and Bigfoot. There have been consistent sightings of these supersized beasts. Evidence of the Yeti has been found in the Himalayas, the inhospitable Asian mountain range that has some of the world's largest peaks. Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, as it is commonly referred to, is said to inhabit the densely forested areas of North America. Neither of these environments is like the terrain seen in the video, but the Joshua Tree National Park in South California, where the Mojave and Colorado deserts meet, is very similar in appearance, and it's there where there have been sightings of another large ape-like animal that has become known as the Yuka Man. Described by one witness, who happened to be a Marine, as being extremely hairy and at least 12 feet tall, and then by a couple who saw the beast in 1979 and said it was covered in long tan hair and was as large as a refrigerator with arms, hanging down below its knees. So could this video clip show footage of some sort of giant bipedal mammal, or maybe an alien or paranormal entity? What do you think? A family madness. Padmaja and her husband, Purushottam Naidu, killed their 2 daughters in January 2021 because they believed the women were filled with evil spirits. The 2 women, Alekya, aged 27, was an engineer with a management degree, and her younger sister, Sai Divya, who was 23, had a business administration degree. The women had returned home to stay with the family during the COVID lockdown when they were bludgeoned to death with a dumbbell in some sort of bizarre sacrificial ritual. The whole family, although highly educated, was also highly superstitious, and the daughters had been brainwashed into trusting the beliefs of their parents and may have willingly participated in the ritual, which indicated that the women could come back to life after 2 days. The parents would have killed themselves as well if police had not intervened, as they believed that they too would return from the dead. The mother was still in a trance-like state when she was arrested and was seen singing and dancing. She refused to cooperate with the police or medical practitioners at the government hospital. She even stopped them from performing a COVID-19 test, stating that she was the incarnation of Shiva and gave birth to Corona, so the virus could not harm her. Padmaja went on to say that she had venom in her throat and that the virus would soon end without the need for a vaccine. Padmaja became distraught when the police tried to enter their 3-story house. The girls were lying in a pool of blood, and she said that they were naked and that the men should not see them like that. She was very upset that the police were wearing shoes as they searched the house, especially in the prayer room. Superstitious beliefs are very common in India, where tradition and religion have often been passed down from one generation to another for hundreds of years, and many believe in the idea of spirit possession. According to the police, who interviewed the couple, they had decided to sacrifice their daughters because the women were possessed, and they would return once the evil spirits had left their bodies. They thought that the present time, Kali Yuga, the 4th and worst of the 4 world ages, was ending. A time full of conflict, sin, darkness, misery, quarrel, and hypocrisy. And they thought that the COVID epidemic was the cataclysm that would usher in the dawn of Satya Yuga, the first and best of the yugas, also known as the Golden Age, which their reborn daughters would be able to enjoy. Sadly, this was not the case, as they were not resurrected 2 days later. It's unknown what happened to the mother and father, but they will most likely spend the rest of their lives in prison. The Legend of Bunnyman. It began on October 19th, 1970, when Robert Bennett, a US Air Force Academy cadet, was driving home with his fiancée. It was nearly midnight on the dark rural roads of Burke, Virginia. The couple were returning from a football game, and despite the late hour, decided to call at the house of Bennett's uncle who lived nearby. Parking his car in a field across from his uncle's house, Bennett and his fiancée were shocked to see something moving near the rear of the car. Suddenly there was a loud crash as the passenger side window was hit so hard that it shattered. A man began shouting at them, "You're on private property and I have your tag number." Frightened Bennett quickly drove away, only to later find a hatchet on the floor of the car. They reported the incident to the police, stating that the strange man had been wearing a white suit with rabbit ears. The creepy figure was seen again just 10 days later by Paul Phillips, a security guard at a housing project. It was 10:30 at night when Phillips came across a man in a white rabbit suit with floppy ears chopping away with a hatchet at the porch post of an unfinished house. The bunny man threatened Phillips as he approached him, saying, "You are trespassing. If you come any closer, I'll chop off your head." Phillips went to retrieve his handgun, but by the time he had returned, the bunny man had disappeared into the trees. It wasn't long before sightings of the mysterious man were reported in and around the area. More than 50 were described to the police over the following weeks. One report stated that a man in a white rabbit suit had eaten a cat. The Colchester Overpass, a railway bridge near Clifton, has often been linked to the legend and has become known as Bunnyman Bridge, and there are tales of teenagers found hanging there with their throats slashed. There have also been stories of other gruesome murders connected to the legend, with a possible body count of up to 32 victims, most of which are children. Whatever the truth is, one thing remains constant: the creepy man is always seen wearing a disturbing white bunny costume, and has become known as the Bunny Man. Fear itself. Our final video was recorded during an Ouija board gathering, which was hosted by Mary Shapiro. She and her two friends all placed their fingertips on the planchette, which is moved around the flat board by supernatural forces. The spirit board is illustrated with letters of the alphabet, numbers, and the words yes and no. Mary begins the session by asking the board if a spirit is there, and on being given a positive answer, she goes on to ask for its name. The planchette spells out the word fear, then Mary asks if the entity answering is dead. The reply is no, and the spirit goes on to say that it is not human. But when asked, then what are you? The unsettling reply is you. When she asks what do you want, the spirit chillingly replies Mary, just before there is a noise so loud that the camera shakes. Mary is convinced that her home is now being haunted, and this is the exact moment when the spirit entered the house. She believes that she opened a portal that day, and is now struggling to close it. Many believe that taking part in an Ouija board can allow spirits to enter the place in which you participate in the game. We'd love to know if any of you have your own experiences with the Ouija board, and if any of you plan doing one this month. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for another creepy video.